Hey everyone, let's jump right into this. Welcome to today's explainer, where we're basically going to shatter how you think about personal finance. We're looking at a pretty wild premise today. What if financial success isn't really about raw intellect? Complicated math or what you inherently know? What if it's actually just about how you behave? We're unpacking the soft skills of money, and trust me, this is going to change your perspective on wealth forever. It's not just about crunching numbers in a spreadsheet, it's the psychology behind the screen. To get why this matters right off the bat, let's compare two totally different real-world stories. First up, we've got Ronald Reed. He was a rural janitor, pumped gas for a living, and was actually the first in his family to graduate high school. But when he passed away, he left behind an $8 million fortune. Crazy, right? Then you have Richard Fuscone, Harvard MBA, incredibly successful Merrill Lynch exec, literally praised for his business genius. But after the 2008 financial crisis, he went completely bankrupt. Just think about that for a second. How on earth does a janitor massively outperform a top-tier finance executive? Well, this hits the nail on the head for Morgan Housel's core thesis in The Psychology of Money. These weirdly paradoxical stories show us that personal finance isn't some hard science. It's a behavioral game. I mean, think about it. In what other industry could someone with zero formal training outperform the absolute best experts in the world? You definitely wouldn't want a janitor performing your heart transplant, right? But in investing, Ronald Reed's quiet patience completely crushed Richard Fuscone's greed. At its core, financial success is totally a soft skill.
All right, section 1, why nobody is crazy. Experiences shape us. We all do wild things with our money, but as we're going to see, there's actually a really distinct reason for it. Let's look at history for a second, because it perfectly explains why we all view risks so differently. Say you were born in 1950. The stock market basically went nowhere during your teens and 20s. It was dead water. But if you were born in 1970, the S&P 500 increased almost tenfold during those exact same formative years. So you've got two equally smart people, separated literally just by the dumb luck of their birth year, and they're going to go through life with completely different hardwired beliefs about how the market works. The data here makes it super clear. That 70s kid, they saw roaring stocks. But a kid growing up in the 1960s watched inflation skyrocket. Prices went up more than threefold, so their paychecks just didn't stretch anywhere near as far. Here's the kind of mind-bending way to frame it. Your own personal experience with money makes up maybe 0.0000001% of what's actually happened in world history. But it makes up like 80% of how you think the world works. We all tell ourselves a story about money that makes perfect sense to us in the moment. And before we jump to judge anyone's financial choices, let's consider the historical labor force data. We naturally think of retirement as this guaranteed, normal phase of life, right? But historically, before World War II, most men literally just worked until they died. Actually, scratch that, it wasn't even an option to stop. The 401k, that wasn't even invented until 1978. So this whole modern financial system, widespread consumer debt, index funds, Roth IRAs, it's basically a newborn baby in human history. So hey, we aren't crazy, we're all just newbies trying to wing it in a brand new system. Which brings us to this really sharp quote by Voltaire. History never repeats itself. Man always does. It's so true. While the markets, the tech, the current events are always shifting, human nature, it is stubbornly consistent. We fall into the exact same predictable psychological traps over and over again, generation after generation. Moving on to section 2, cognitive biases and money traps. The invisible forces guiding our wallets. Let's dig into the Corporate Finance Institute's breakdown of the fascinating biases that secretly influence our everyday money choices. Okay, here's a rapid-fire list of the greatest hits of behavioral finance. We're talking about framing, narrative fallacy, herd mentality, which is basically when we blindly copy everyone else out of FOMO instead of doing our own homework, and anchoring, where an $85,000 car somehow makes a $30,000 car suddenly feel like a total bargain. These are the specific, documented reasons behind the crazy things we do. Let's actually zoom in on two of the biggest troublemakers on this list. First up is overconfidence bias. This is basically the desirability effect in action. You believe something's going to happen just because you really, really want it to. And it partners up so well with self-serving bias. Like, if an investment goes up, we pat ourselves on the back, right? We're financial geniuses. But if it completely tanks, oh, it's just bad luck, or the economy's fault. This one is super dangerous because it totally blinds us to the actual risks we're taking. Next, we have loss aversion. Now, this is a fascinating human glitch. In behavioral finance, they found that the psychological pain of losing money is way, way more intense than the joy of making it. Think about that for a second. Most investors would literally rather avoid losing $2,000 than take a measured, calculated risk to earn $3,000. It makes us make highly irrational, fear-based choices instead of math-based ones, and that completely holds us back. That brings us to Section 3, rich versus wealthy, knowing the difference. So now that we've mapped out the mental minefield, we really need to reframe what our actual target should be, borrowing some great insights from client care. The contrast here is just striking. Being rich is loud, it's highly visible. It means having high cash flow, sure, but that money is usually spent instantly on the latest gadgets, luxury cars, keeping up appearances. It's a stressful treadmill to be on. On the flip side, being wealthy is quiet. Wealth is the unspent savings. It's those invisible assets and investments that give you the ultimate luxury, which is autonomy, the freedom to do what you want, when you want, for as long as you want. Basically, rich is about showing off, but wealth is about freedom. Some people are so poor, all they have is money. That Bob Marley quote just perfectly hits the nail on the head regarding the tragedy of chasing the wrong goal. It's exactly why we see lottery winners go totally bankrupt just a few years after hitting a massive jackpot, or those highly paid executives who lose the whole shebang because they just couldn't rein in their spending. They got rich, absolutely, but they never actually built wealth. They lived for the visible and ignored the invisible. Moving into Section 4, the power of compounding, the eighth wonder. So how do we actually build that invisible, quiet wealth? Let's pivot to the hard mechanics of money. According to the math guys at F&B, the undisputed heavyweight champion of wealth creation is compounding. Let's look at our really relatable scenario to see how this works in the real world. Meet Sippo. He's 25, and he decides it's time to start saving for his future. He isn't doing anything crazy, no day trading, no trying to time the market. He's just consistently investing 5,000 Rand every single month at an average 8% annual compounded interest rate.
He's sitting on
Nothing
almost
flashy.
1.3
So what happens by the
million
time he
Rand?
hits 65?
And here's the absolute crucial takeaway. Sippo didn't need some massive CEO salary to get there. He didn't need to strike it rich on some lucky once-in-a-lifetime stock pick. All he needed was discipline, consistency, and time. And the math behind it is just beautiful. Compound interest acts like a snowball rolling down a really long hill. In those early years, sure, the growth looks slow, it's pretty linear. But because Sipho is reinvesting his returns, he starts earning interest on his interest. By year 20, and especially by year 40, that growth curve just goes completely exponential. Time is the secret ingredient here. It literally does the heavy lifting for you. Now, if you want a super easy mental model to calculate this for your own money without busting out a spreadsheet, use the rule of 72. It's incredibly simple. All you do is divide the number 72 by your expected annual interest rate. So, say you're getting a 6% return. 72 divided by 6 is 12. That means your money is going to double every 12 years. It's just a fantastic, quick little trick to estimate how fast your own wealth snowball is growing. So, bringing this whole shebang together, what are the actionable steps we can take today? First, start early. Time is literally your absolute greatest asset. Second, make regular contributions. Consistency is what fuels the fire. Third, reinvest those dividends. Don't spend the interest. Let it compound. And fourth, choose your investments wisely so you can lock in a steady, reliable rate of return. Which leaves us with one final critical thought to chew on. Now that you know the psychological traps that constantly push us to show off, and you've seen the mathematical reality of how quiet wealth is actually built, you've got a choice to make. Ask yourself this: are you spending your money to look rich today, or are you investing your time to be wealthy tomorrow? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this helps you build a truly wealthy future.